Most people take a series of unplanned steps, or worse, lack of moves, that ultimately delay their progress to the job you really want to reach, the CFO. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the pivotal moves you should make in your career to give it direction and increase your chances of becoming a CFO. My name is David. I've been a CFO for 12 years, and I want to use my experience to help you become a successful CFO. Pivotal career moves can be based around the companies you work for, the people you align with, the opportunities you identify and jump at, and the success that you have that opens more doors. I've reflected on this experience in my career and come up with a three-phase approach that you can use to be deliberate in your career planning. The first phase is building the core. We want to start by building highly competent accounting skills and then use that to gain management experience and a senior role leading teams. It's a lot easier to first gain management experience in the area of your true competency before broadening out into other spaces. Next, get some experience in other operational areas. It could be anything from IT, marketing, risk. It will depend on the size of the business that you're working in and the type of business and industry as well. And if you're in a big corporate, get a secondment into a non-finance area, especially if you can lead a team. This is a low-risk way to really get something strong on your resume. And don't rule anything out. I once saw a HR associate become a team supervisor in a finance administration area. It was a great internal move, but one that would have been very difficult if that person was coming externally and trying to come in with that skill set. And whatever the size of business you're in, please try to get some experience with project management. If you've got a project office, spend some time with them. Start understanding how they set up best practice for projects, how they run projects, what sort of project documentation they do. You can volunteer to be a project lead for your department, even if you're a junior. The experience will become invaluable. And if you're a finance manager, become a project sponsor for a project within your area. And these are all great resume building opportunities. And lastly, I want you to think about the rate of skill development you're getting currently in your role. If you've been doing it for a number of years, you can start going in a bit of an annual cycle, and the rate that you're learning obviously slows down. So you want to start pushing yourself into areas where you're always on a really good, solid rate of learning and skill development. Okay, and if you're serious about becoming a CFO, check my website, CFO Hero Project, on how I can help you get ahead and fast track your progress. Now let's get into the second phase. Have big goals. You want to aim to build your reporting line bigger than just core finance areas. When I was at a large investment bank, I moved into a new role, and the leader of that area, he was known internally as an empire builder because his career strategy was just accumulating as many people in his reporting line as quickly as possible. And it was a great strategy. And if you're in a big or at least a medium-sized corporate, get a career sponsor. This is someone who is senior and will advocate for you. So you need to build a relationship with them. They need to understand what your motivations are, what your skills are, and what your career aspirations are. But you need to be a little bit careful who you pick, because it has to be someone who has a seat at the table. It needs to be someone that when they hear about future opportunities that are in the planning, that can align you and your ambitions with some opportunities and put your name forward. Next, let's think about your career timeline. You really want to show a good, strong trajectory forward. You want to show roles with increased responsibility and higher job titles and a good rate of pace of moving against those levels. And let's try to get some quality employer names on your resume. This can be especially helpful if you're early in your career. It can help you land more senior roles at other firms, and it can also help you roll more senior roles as your career progresses at small and medium firms. And you don't want to rule that out, because that can ultimately be leading you into a pathway of a CFO role or even a CEO role at a smaller firm, which can be a fantastic career move as well. And if we're thinking big, What about international experience? Is that right for you? Is that something you're interested in? And how would you make it happen? It's not an easy move to make. But if you're with a global firm, then that can open up some pathways. And that certainly was my experience. I had a dream of working in New York. I had some connections through our global business lines, and I leveraged that up until then opportunity becoming a reality. But it's not without its dangers. It can be quite difficult to make happen, and it can be a long road in that process as well. But if you're in a regional or a smaller city, the move for you could be thinking about moving to a bigger city and the increased opportunities and companies that you could choose from. And the last comment I want to make on having big goals is be careful about jumping levels too far, too fast, because you don't want to get out of your depth and destined for failure. You don't want to create a sink or swim moment where you can't gain experience fast enough to overcome a lack of knowledge that you might have. So just keep that balance in mind. So now we've maximized our base level skills, we've thought of some higher level goals, and we're ready to consider the third phase, looking for the fork in the road moments. Now these are career moments that come along, planned or unplanned, and it's a sliding doors moment. You'll have to make a decision, and that decision could have big career implications. You'll have to decide how comfortable are you taking risks, and what will these moments even look like? Should you get experience with small firms, medium companies, large global companies, maybe two of the three, maybe all three? And would you rather be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in the ocean? And do you have vertical growth opportunities in your company? And how often do they even come up? You don't want to be waiting for someone to move on from a role because of a very structured pathway where you go from this role to that role to that role. I certainly had times in my career where my manager moved on, the company restructured, and that role no longer existed. So if that was the only role that I was aiming for, it didn't even exist a year later. But when should you jump to another employer? You should identify the realistic chance internal opportunities are going to arise, and if so, whether you have a chance to get those roles. Talk with your department head about this, because you want them to know you're looking for opportunities to move up, and if they're not going to be there, then you'll have to move on. In other words, you want to try to create the opportunity and force that opportunity rather than waiting for just another role to come up because someone eventually leaves. And at what time do you make a move that has a higher level of risk attached to it? On the other hand, if you're thinking about a sideways move, you need to be very careful. You need to have a clear intent on what skills you're trying to develop in that role, because you don't want to set your career progress back because something looked like you flatlined for several years. And lastly, here's some advice from a career mentor I once had. He said, if you haven't made it by the time you're 35, you never will. And he told me that when I was about 30. Now, there's some truth to it, of course, but I think really the lesson here is what you want to be doing is showing growth in your career, challenging yourself, building on skills, and looking for opportunities, and push yourself to take that jump when you're feeling like it's there. So if you're a new CFO or aspiring to be one, I've got some more great content selected for you up here. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I want to keep bringing more experience about how to be a CFO to help you with your career. Bye for now.